I'm doing a live.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Service Box. My name is Tim Baghurst, joined as always by Commissioner TJ Bamba. This evening we have special guest Christie Huczek, who is here joining us. Christie, thanks so much for joining us this evening. If you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit about your history and your involvement in racquetball, and then what you're doing now.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. This is my daughter Evelyn right behind me. Also, she just turned 10. Super proud of this girl. Yeah, so gosh, I'm living in Montana now, in Bozeman, Montana. Started playing racquetball when I was maybe 4 or 5. My parents got me into it. I was a 70s kid, so I grew up at the racquetball club with my family, just playing racquetball and traveling to all the junior events all across Canada. Originally from Kelowna, BC, Canada, and ended up, working really hard and made our national team. So I was able to support Canadian national racquetball team efforts. And gosh, that was from probably 1994 until early 2000s. Well, I had even 2010. So I played on the national team as well as professional racquetball until about 2010.
And
it was a long career, a long time ago. So.
As part of that, I mean, you obviously spent a lot of time representing Canada, and I know you were extremely successful on the international scene. How much opportunity did you get to play professionally?
I played full time with Wilson from 2004 until about 2009, I believe. There was just a turning point in my life where I had graduated university, and I really wanted to give it a go full time as a job, and Wilson really made that happen for me. So I'm incredibly grateful for them for those experiences, and they really allowed me to live my dream. I could play it full time. I taught a ton of clinics, played every tournament that I could, just to make a go of it, and no regrets in that regard as well.
Well, if you're just joining us, Christie Huczek is joining us this evening. So if you have questions for her, you want to know about racquetball during this period of time, what she's doing now, what she thinks of racquetball as it is today, now's your chance to get those questions in your chat box so that we can get them to her later in the show. Also, don't forget about Kahoot. We're going to be playing with Christie in Kahoot. She's already, TJ I know is already lined up with their names, so be sure to do that as well. And the information that you're going to need, by the way, is to go to kahoot.it and the PIN number 9112427. So it's kahoot.it, the PIN number 9112427. So be sure to get signed up for that. We're going to get to that later in the show. But first off, TJ, I'm going to hand it over to you. I know you always have some fun questions to ask at the start of the show.
Thank you, Tim. So Christie, what I like to do with our guests is just play a little rapid fire, and just I'm going to ask some questions, random questions, and just answer the first thing that comes to mind. But I want to start with, I know you have children now, as we saw, your 10-year-old daughter. Could you just tell a little bit about your family life right now before we do the rapid fire?
Yeah. So I married Jack Huczek in 2010. 2009, we had our 10-year anniversary. And then we had Evelyn in 2010, and then Faith in 2012. And lucky us, we had another girl in 2018. So I have, we have a 19-month-old, 10-year-old, and 8-year-old.
Fabulous family. Congratulations to you and Jack, of course. He's very much outnumbered, so.
Yes.
All right, so rapid fire questions. First question, what's the most interesting thing you have done during this global pandemic?
Gosh, so it's been a very, very interesting 2020, and my heart goes out for anybody, please, um, suffering from either loved ones being sick or their family. Um, for me, we had a really difficult time in the spring. My kids were really, really sick, and you just never know what's, what's going to happen. You don't know what the future's going to hold. So for me, I've just really taken every moment I can and cherished it with my daughters. They've learned to ride with their extra time at home. So now they're horseback riders, which I'm so incredibly proud of. We're raising ducks and chickens and just having like a really lovely farm life. We haven't, I'm the type that has not left our house. So, we live on about 2.5 acres, and it's just become a really special place for us here, in the mountains and the beauty around us. So really just cherishing every moment I have with them.
Great. What's one of your best memories from your childhood?
Gosh, so my family was really heavily involved in racquetball. So I've got 2 older brothers. My dad is still just a total racquetball fanatic, and my mom is there right there supporting him as he still runs tournaments and shootouts and league. So the community really relies on my dad to keep racquetball going, and I love that about him and my family. Growing up, we used to just piece it together. Like at these tournaments, my parents would load us into, a 2-door Cutlass and drive us all the way across the country to go to tournaments. So my first junior nationals was in Davidson, Michigan, of all places. I won the 6 and under junior national title there. And then we also went the next year to California, to Newport Beach, in a camper, and we picked up Derek Robinson on the way. So there was, 4 kids and a couple of young parents heading to junior nationals there. So those type of memories are, will stick with me forever. And, I'm trying to recreate it for my kids as well, because it's just a super special time in my life.
What did you get in trouble for most when you were a kid?
So my mom will tell you, nothing. I was an angel because I had 2 older brothers, and, the baby sister could really do no wrong. So I like to go with
You're
that.
going to stick with that.
I'm going to stick with that.
All right. What's the last book you read?
So I'm reading a book right now, actually called Educated, by Tara Westover, I believe her last name is. Incredible story. I love reading nonfiction books, and her story was about growing up in a Mormon family. She didn't have a birth certificate. She really didn't know what her own birthday was, and she ended up putting herself through school, through university, getting her PhD in education, and is an author now, and her story is just incredible.
If you could pick any job to do right now, no restrictions, what would you pick?
So I talk about this a lot, especially with my brothers, because we laugh about it. What would be your dream job now? Especially, I had a long time career in oil and gas, and I was laid off in September. So it really made me, it's made me think about my next path forward. But funny enough, I'd love to be like a breakfast waitress or work at a ski hill or something that would just totally be very simple, no pressure, and a heck of a lot of fun.
That's a great answer. That's great. What is some of the best advice you've ever received?
So the best advice on the court I've ever received really was just how to deal with my nerves. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself, getting to the finals of any tournament, because, I wanted to win so bad, and it was just, it was my life at the time. And so, of course, with that comes a lot of nerves when you're trying to sleep before a big game the next day in the US Open, for example, something like that. But to get through that, some good advice that I got, was to realize that being nervous was actually a really great thing, and to use it in a positive way. It was actually positive energy. not to use, not to be worried that it was going to impact your play. You're going to use that as part of your adrenaline to get through your match.
Last question. What was your favorite racquetball moment?
Gosh, any of the US Opens, really. I really cherish that event. It was, during my era, it was the event to win. It was what you trained for throughout the year, what I used to think about, months leading up to it, that kind of thing. So making it, that whole experience, we'd arrive like on the Sunday or Monday beforehand, and Doug would have gifts for us, which was awesome. And we'd have the player meeting, and you get to see all your friends, and it was just, a great community of people, and you got to showcase your sport, on a big stage. And every athlete deserves that when they work as hard as they do to win and be their best.
Great. Good. Thank you for answering all those great questions. Good answers.
Sure.
Tim, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Sure. And just a reminder, if you have questions for Christie that you want to ask, please go ahead and put them in your chat box and we'll get them to her. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Christie, TJ always asks the great moments, right? And but I'm, with my background and what I do for a living, which is coach education, I also want to know kind of what were some of the moments that you struggled with, because you competed for many years and they're not all happy moments. There's drama, there's struggles, there's days, I'm sure, where you were asking, why am I doing this? What kind of drags you through those moments when you're in a situation where you're questioning, why am I playing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah. So, of course, everybody goes through that, and at a young age too, everything feels like the world is falling, right? When you're not getting your way, or, you're not getting the answers that you want. But just basically the love of the sport is what, drove me to continue through any hard times that I had or challenges. I was super, super passionate about racquetball from day one. I used to tell my parents that I wanted to be the best in the world when I was, like 12 and 13. And that stuck with me for a very, very, very long time, pretty much until I, married Jack and started having kids, and my priorities changed considerably. My kids became the number one priority. So just, really just the absolute love of the sport, and, ride or die, racquetball was my motto pretty much through my 20s.
Was there a time where you kind of realized, it's time for me to walk away, it's time for me to stop playing? Was there that moment, or was it just a general kind of, okay, I'm reaching that point now?
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment, and it was in Louisiana. I think it was my last pro stop. And I had taken a Southwest Airlines flight from Dallas, which was like 45 minutes. And I left my children at home, and it was really hard. It was so hard to leave at that point. And it was so hard to be so close to Dallas, yet I couldn't see my kids, throughout the weekend. And I just knew it wasn't in the cards for me to be away from them anymore. So that was really my last, I believe it was my last tournament, and for quite some time. But yeah, there was definitely an aha moment, a light bulb moment. And it was really just, priorities shift dramatically once you have kids.
Esther Lozano wants to know if you miss playing.
Yes, of course I do. So I still do play. I play with my kids. And I love it. I love getting out there and hitting the ball. I actually played in a tournament in November, and it was just a blast. Like when you can play and there's no pressure, and it's just fun, and the only thing I'm worried about is getting hurt at that point. It's like it's an awesome sport, and my kids love it. They love getting in the court and hitting the ball as hard as they can, and hearing the noise and running around and being crazy. So, it checks all the boxes.
Given that you still play and that your kids are playing, juniors are one of those things that come up time and time and time again when it comes into discussion about how does racquetball not just survive but thrive. Given your experiences of what you've seen both in Canada and now the US, what recommendations do you have for organizations, whether it be Racquetball Canada, USA, LPRT, to kind of bring this sport back and make it more visible and help it grow?
Great question. I wish I had the answer that everybody's been asking, right? How do we get this sport to grow again at the grassroots level? And, it's a lot of the responsibility from my perspective, and I live in a small town, but, it falls on the clubs, first of all, wanting to have kids as part of their programming. We're currently challenged here with that. I've volunteered at our club to make that happen, and it's not overly welcomed for whatever reason, and I have to understand that. But if clubs are willing to involve that age group in after school programming, that's the first step. And then you have to have a great programmer as the second step. Like my husband Jack, he's an awesome programmer, and he would do amazing things with the juniors given the chance at our local club. He's doing it at the university. We went to the university quite often when it was open to play and coach that age group. But definitely it starts with the club and programming, acceptance, and then it just grows from there. And I reflect on my junior time. The reason that I played and fell in love with the sport and kept playing was because of the junior programming. We had 50 or 100 kids in our junior program, and it was a blast, and I couldn't wait to get out of school to go down to the club after school and see all my buddies, and then go to the tournament and see all my new friends, and so on and so on. So sorry, I don't have the golden answer there.
No, I don't think anybody does. I think it's more of a gaining perspectives from people who've been in the sport for different generations or different periods of time, and have seen some things work and some things not work. And I think, TJ, the juniors is something that we keep hearing over and over, and that clubs either don't allow juniors into the club, or there's no one at the club who knows how to actually provide programming for the juniors.
Yeah. There's a long history to it as well. If somebody like myself or Jack or, John Ellis is a good example. He's managed to make a career out of what he's doing in his athletic facility, which is awesome. But that's like 1 in a million. You can't, those jobs just aren't available, and they're not sustainable. And, it's really too bad that there's not a lot of value put into that position.
Sean Walter wants to know if you could implement one change to make the sport better in the current day, what would that be?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had this discussion with Jack the other day. I would have, at the very least, equal prize money for the men and women, right? Are we heading in that direction, TJ?
Yeah, some tournaments have been really great about it, like our first ever Bolivian tournament, equal prize money, Grand Slam.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I think a blended tour for a lot of the stops would probably help both tours, considering that the prize money would be equal. I think that would do a lot for the sport, and, motivate a lot of the women to continue to play if there's going to be that type of exposure and that type of fairness across the board.
Did you play much mixed doubles? Did you enjoy it?
No, I was not a doubles player, to be honest. I did not excel in doubles, and I always played singles on our national team, so there wasn't, I never really got into the mix of doubles as a priority.
And I think doubles is something that we added after you had retired. So
Okay.
doubles is now a regular tour event.
Okay. So like mixed doubles or just
Women's doubles.
women's doubles?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. It's fun. I mean, it's fast and it's fun. And it's very entertaining. So yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah, and I should point out, Sean pointed out as well, TJ, the Super Max Slam that we were hoping to have in June that hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it will at some point.
Yeah.
Actually has more prize money. It has, well, you can talk about it. Talk a little bit about what the Super Max Slam means, because it's a lot of money.
It is. And Tim, you could have kept going, but yeah, with Christie, we have a big sponsor, Randy Root, who is sponsoring now his third event this year, and each year he's doubled the prize money. So we're up to $60,000 purse for just the women pros. And that is, to my understanding, is the biggest purse paid out. At least, I don't know what the 80s purses were like, but at least in current history, the women, that's all for the women. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Big sponsors like that are really supporting the ladies in the ladies stores.
Another question, Francis Anum. Nice to see you online, Francis. Tim and TJ, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much. I have a question for all of you. How do you get over the jitters and stiffness in your first singles game in a match in a tournament? Christie, you're the well, Christie and TJ, you guys are the pros, so I'm going to let you guys answer that.
Christie, it's all you, Christie.
So as I developed as a professional player, I developed a pretty good pregame routine, and that was really important to me. So to get over the jitters and stiffness, having a routine that I would follow leading up to my first match would be the same routine that I would follow leading up to my final match. So consistency pregame helps make things just seem what they are, which is routine. So it's not like your first game and you got all this pressure on you. Hey, you're doing the same thing that you're going to do when you hit the finals. It becomes just a way to keep things within your control, and acknowledge that, just like in life, things are going to pop up, but you can, if you have that routine, you're able to, work through it.
Just a reminder, we're listening to Christie Huczek. If you have a question, put it in your chat box. Also coming up in a few minutes, we're going to be doing a trivia game against her. Go to kahoot.it, enter the PIN number 911-2427 to participate. Next question comes actually from Racquetball Canada, and says, getting girls in the game is becoming even harder. What are 2 or 3 things that we really need to focus on with young girls? And thanks, Christie, for your commitment to the sport in Canada and to Team Canada.
Hey Canada, how's it going? I miss you guys. I'm really missing you right now. So 2 or 3 things that we really need to focus on with young girls. Well, I do have experience now because I've got 3 young girls. 2 of them who are super athletic. They're 10 and 8. And the most important thing that we just did with our girls was just really get them on the court. Just introduce them to the sport in a way that's fun and entertaining, and in a no pressure situation. So, that pretty much hooked it with our girls. They just, we started a routine. They could go to the club on Tuesdays and Thursdays because, of course, we've got competing sports being, things like soccer, which a lot of kids do have. But, come Tuesday, if they want to go to the courts on Tuesdays or Thursdays, it's their choice. We ended up, as you do, meeting other people at the club who have, invited us to play with them. Some their age, a lot they're not, which was, very much the same as when I was playing as well. But just that, that first introduction, getting them on the court, getting them in the environment, and, the sport essentially does the rest as far as, making contact with the ball and, like I said, running around like crazy and just making it fun. But I think just making that commitment, for a time and date, and always being there for whoever wants to play and being consistent in that, kids tend to gravitate towards that and having a schedule.
Rick Rochetti says, Christie, first, I think had you stayed in the sport, that your skills were so incredible, I truly believe that you would have been at #1 status for years, or at least trading badges with Paola, as long as you're both amazing shot experts and shot executioners. Question, if you had outdoor racquetball courts near you, would you introduce your kids to outdoor racquetball, and would you and/or Jack play?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, I think, after we kind of left the sport, both Jack and I were really involved in our careers and our family, and it just absolutely made that a priority. So, I don't want to make any misconception that we left because we were mad or we wanted to disappear or any of those things. Our priorities just really, really shifted at the time. And it's sort of come full circle. We're at the point in our lives where we, if there were outdoor courts here, for sure we would be outside playing. I don't think that would be any question. We play here through the winter because there's courts, indoor courts here, obviously. So, I appreciate all the nice things that you just said in your chat, and I do wish my career probably could have been a little bit longer. I could have transitioned into something where I could have been more involved in the sport. However, it just wasn't in the cards. It was family and work at the time, and that's just what happens. So.
Sean says, what are your thoughts on the switch from 1 serve to 2 serves? Seems like it would be difficult adjustment for today's players because second serves seem to happen very frequently.
So I played in an era where there was 1 serve, and I felt like I benefited from that because I felt like I had a strong first serve. So, I think probably there's a lot of differing opinions on the change from a first serve to having 2 serves available. That's a really difficult question. From my perspective, I probably wouldn't have been happy moving to 2 serves, especially, knowing what Cheryl's lob serve down, the right wall always looked like, which, I couldn't stand. But, it's change is always good. It always kind of freshens things up. From that perspective, it was probably a really good decision to try to make some sort of change. Heck, I think I played at one point, Heiser had us playing, I think, rally scoring to 21. Am I right, TJ? Do you remember that?
Oh, we briefly did that. I do remember that. I remember not liking that one so much. But
yeah, I didn't like that change, but I think the perspective is that we wanted to do something different, to change it up. And so it'll probably change back at some point. But
everybody's trying to find the answer, the right puzzle pieces to put the sport back together and progress.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do have a question for you, Christie. How did you and Jack end up in Montana?
So we lived in Dallas from 2008 to 2015, and we just really got a bit tired of like the rise and grind. Jack was commuting 45 minutes to work every day, on a concrete highway and in Dallas, and I was just kind of going through the motions as far as, not really, enjoying the environment as much as I was early on moving there. I grew up in the mountains in Kelowna, British Columbia. I grew up skiing and snowboarding and hiking and being much more in that environment, which was ironic, like really natural to Jack as well. So we had an opportunity to come here. Jack got a job offer, and we just, made a pretty overnight decision and made it happen. And we're super, super happy.
Oh, we have a couple pictures of your kids before we get into Kahoot, so I just want to throw them up there for you, Christy.
So this is Jasmine. She's the best baby ever. She went. She's. This is an awesome picture of her. So we went to Glacier National Park over July 4th weekend, and these are my other two daughters, Evelyn and Faith. And this is Evelyn now, right behind me. Can you smile, please, honey? So yeah, Jasmine went from A+ sleeper for the first year to about a D- for the last 6 months. So I'm sorry if I appear a little bit tired, but it's always up and down. No.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to Kahoot now. Thanks for those of you who entered your questions. And I know last one, Mike Jimenez is a big fan of the LPRT, and he says, Christy, come back to the tour. You and Jack miss seeing you folks in Dallas when the LPR tour came to Dallas. So thanks, Mike, for that comment. But last chance, get into Kahoot.it. The PIN number is 9112427. All right, Jay, are we ready to go?
Get to spin and get your nicknames.
All right, Jay's ready. Let's pull it up. Apparently. There's 8. Jay says there's only 4, so now's your chance. Kahoot.it, chance to claim a win. 1 in 4 chance right now. Here we go. Awesome Wombat, that's a great name.
As you're waiting, we can.
Light Zebra, Shining Macaw, Silver Griffin, that sounds Harry Potter-esque. And Racquetball Canada proudly says we're going to win this time. I think what they mean is that they didn't win last time. Let's focus on that, Racquetball Canada. All right, here we go.
All right, geography.
Which of the Great Lakes does not share a border with Canada? Lake Michigan, Huron, Erie, or Superior? Just a reminder, if you've never played this before, the faster you answer, the more points you get, assuming you get it right.
I just got it wrong.
3 seconds to finish out. And the answer is Lake Michigan. So these are general trivia quizzes or questions. Dandy Duck. I want to know who Dandy Duck is. That's fantastic. Double points. How many national titles does Christie have? Racquetball Canada, if you get this wrong, Christy, if you get this wrong, 1, 4, 6, or 10. Ten seconds.
Does it include juniors?
I don't think so. No. 6 is the correct number. Yesterday we had, or last week we had Jen Saunders on with 24 total titles.
That's it? Jeez.
What is the national language of India? Farsi, Hindi, English, or Indian? Fifteen seconds to make your decisions.
I like our music.
Is the correct answer. And Dandy Duck is on fire right now. Is that you, TJ?
Depends
Depends.
how the end works out here. We'll see.
Which city in the USA is known as the Windy Cindy? What? Windy Cindy.
I'm hoping that was a typo.
I hope it's a typo. New York, Austin, Philadelphia, or Chicago. Famous song about it, of course. And Chicago is the right answer. 4 out of 6 got it right. Zany Meerkat is catching up. Question 5, true or false? Remember to be quick. It's worth double. 25th annual U.S. Open of Racquetball will take place in 2020. True or false? There was a big announcement last night. You missed it.
I'm going to be there, by the way. I can't wait to see everybody. They're going to be this year or next year?
I like
This year or next year. Yeah.
music for this.
I was so excited. Still am.
Everybody got it right. Well done.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Which is not one of the 5 boroughs of New York City? Ooh, this is tough. Queens, Ellis Island, Manhattan, or Staten Island?
Oh,
I think I know this one.
text somebody for this. Can I text somebody for the answer?
Just click on the friend.
No. Queens, Manhattan, Ellis Island, or Staten Island? 2 of them islands. And the answer is Ellis Island.
100% got it right.
Everybody got it right. Well done. Dandy Duck still healthily in the lead. Question 7. What is the Peking, Shanghai, Nanjing, or Beijing? Might be a trick question. Yeah, Sean Walter, we're bummed too that it's moved to 2021, but unfortunately that's the way things are. So hope to see you there next year at the US Open. Beijing is the correct answer. Some of you guessed Shanghai. True or false? Question 8, again worth double points. The very first US Open of Racquetball took place in Minnesota. Blue for true, red for false.
That was coming down the speed.
Yep.
Speed of answering the question.
Eight seconds to go. I'm guessing most people will be choosing false.
Ooh,
Or chose false. 2 chose blue. It moved to Minnesota in 2011, I believe. What city is the capital of Canada? Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa, or Calgary? Jay set some of these up for Christie, TJ. You know it. Racquetball Canada. You better get this one right too. TJ, wasn't this question on last week?
Not, no, not the capital. I think it was like, what was the largest city?
Largest city. Ottawa is the correct answer. 4 got it right. Somebody selected Calgary.
Calgary.
And Andy Duck still in the lead by 4,000 points. Question 10. What is the name of the deepest known location of the Earth's oceans? Oh, my kids know this. North Pacific Ridge, Atlantic Depths, Trench Water, Challenger Deep.
Oh boy.
This is your trip up, TJ.
Yeah. This. Oh, but I want to change my answer now, though.
3 seconds. Too late.
I want to change my answer.
Challenger D.
Oh, actually, I guessed right. Wow.
You sure you want to change your answer?
Yeah, no, that was a lucky guess. I really didn't know the answer to that one.
Question 11. Worth double. Suzy Acosta from Mexico is the highest rank achieved on the Pro Tour is. Gee, totally made this question up.
Oh.
Suzy Acosta, if you've not met her, she's a lot of fun. Be sure to say hi.
Is Suzy still playing, TJ?
She is.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, part-time, as many as she
Is
can.
that Suzy right there? Look at her.
I don't think that's necessarily the most recent picture.
Jeez.
She doesn't play. I don't think she plays with.
I'm sorry, Suzy.
4 titles.
Highest rank.
Highest rank.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, you're right. What is the tallest building in New York City? Chrysler Building, Empire State Building, New York Times Building, or One World Trade Center? It's not the Statue of Liberty. I know that much. 10 seconds to go. One World Trade Center is the tallest building in New York City. And 13, 3 questions left. How many time zones are in the world? 21, 22, 23, or 24?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay. It comes down to my favorite color at this point.
It's really feel like geography.
At 24, I don't know. I Googled that one because I wasn't convinced, and it says there were more than 24 time zones. So I don't know what to say.
You just Googled that while we're on here? Oh.
I'm not participating, so I'm able to check the answers. In what country would you find Mount Kilimanjaro? Tanzania, Zambia, Mozambique, and Malawi. This is kind of a trick question, I think. It's actually on the border of 2 countries.
Do you have any
which country you would fly into
on the tour right now, TJ?
What's that?
Do you have any adventurists on the tour right now?
Adventurous?
Hikers, yeah, like world travelers.
Yeah. I mean, Paula's just been about everywhere, I think. Some international players, I think, have traveled quite a bit for competition.
Last question. What city is located in both Asia and Europe? This is a great question. Kabul, Islamabad, Jerusalem, or Istanbul? Three, 2, 1, and Istanbul gets it. Let's take a look at our leaderboard to finish. 3rd place, Bronze Egret. Well done, congratulations. 2nd place, Zany Meerkat, and 1st place, it's got to be Candy Duck. Well done, TJ. Racquetball Canada says, okay, we're going to win next time. That's what you just said 10 minutes ago, Racquetball Canada. Come on now. I appreciate the confidence. We'll have another go next time with our next guest. But Hope everybody enjoyed participating in that. Christie, thanks also for participating. Hope you enjoyed it. TJ, just a final question or two before we call it a night.
Yeah, Christie, you talk about maybe some of your regrets of being involved in racquetball or continued involvement. Is there any look to the future to getting back involved in racquetball from any perspective?
I mean, yeah. So, our family is a racquetball family. It was born out of the love of the sport. So, racquetball will always be primarily a love for both Jack and I. And our girls love it now as well. So, from that perspective, we'll always be part of the sport. As far as contributing, if there are opportunities for either of us to contribute, we do take those opportunities, such as with our university here, trying to support any tournaments that are going on, etc. So as in terms of regretting anyway we departed from the sport, speaking for myself, if you look at my timeline, it was actually really difficult for me to leave the sport. I left and came back several times. But that was just my way of trying to explore other avenues in life, so it wasn't just racquetball for me. I had other things that I wanted to discover about myself and, about the world outside of racquetball. However, racquetball still continued to bring me back into the fold. When I finally left my professional career, like I explained, it was really to grow my career in oil and gas, as well as, dedicating my time to my family. So, really no regrets. Gosh, I could never, ever live in regret based on, what I was able to accomplish, as well as finding, Jack along the way. And, if there is going to be opportunity in the future, of course, we'd love to be a part of it, no question.
Yeah, and I also like to ask this question to the pros that we have had on, current and former pros. If you had any advice for a young player out there who has aspirations to play the tour or even try to play for their countries, what advice might you give them?
Gosh, just take the opportunity if it fits your plan, if it's your passion and your life goal. Don't feel like you have to do anything because the opportunity is there. I think you first and foremost have to have a passion for what you're going to dedicate and commit yourself to. If you're not 100% in, you're probably not going to execute to the best of your ability. So in that regard, I think you have to follow your heart and your life's plan, and know that it's not wrong, that if you might be good at something, if you don't really love it, you don't have to do it. You might be really great at other things that you haven't, discovered yet, unless you go out and try it. So for me personally, at the time, racquetball was highly funded by our government. So I took complete advantage of that and got my degree at university. And so that was a really big, drawing card for me. And again, it was where my passion was, deep in my heart. So.
Great.
Well, I want to say thank you very much to Christie Huczek for joining us this evening. And of course, TJ Bamba, as always. Just a reminder, though, coming up next week, we got a very interesting, a little different perspective. TJ, we're going to be talking about outdoor racquetball.
And Vegas, we're going to have Michelle De La Rosa, Rick Cole, Soda Man, I understand is his nickname, and a special guest, Marty Hogan, will also join us a little bit next week to talk about outdoor racquetball and all things Vegas.
Right. So be sure to join us same time as always, July 23rd, Thursday evening at 9 p.m. But from all of us at the LPRT, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks.